Good morning. My name is Vernon Richardson. I was the Chief of Staff to Councilman Michael Yoon, and it is a pleasure to be a part of this ceremony today where we recognize the anniversary, the 76th anniversary of the end of occupation of the Korean Peninsula. To those of you who are visiting our city for the first time, welcome to the city of Jersey City. And for residents or those who've been here before, welcome back. Welcome to your city hall. And now for a formal welcome, it is my pleasure to introduce the 49th Mayor of the City of Jersey City, Stephen Fulop.
Thank you, Vernon, and thank you for all the dignitaries here, Mrs. Yun, who's joined us, the council members. It is a privilege today to celebrate the independence and with a flag ceremony for the Republic of Korea. But I also want to highlight the importance of today and the significance as we think about what we've lost as a community over the last year, particularly our beloved Councilman Michael Yoon, who was a champion for the Korean community and a champion for Jersey City. And today is a small reminder of his importance as his dedication overall as we honor him. So thank you, Vernon. Thank you for all the dignitaries and the family again. And we look forward to doing this many, many years in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to next welcome to the podium representative of the Consulate of the Republic of Korea. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be here in Jersey City on behalf of the Consul General. I want to thank Mayor Philip and many others for organizing this meaningful event to celebrate the 76th anniversary of Korea Liberation Day. As you know, Korean Liberation Day is usually celebrated on August 15th. It's the day when Korea regained its independence 76 years ago in 1945. So every year, both in Korea and abroad, we celebrate Korea's freedom and independence. That's not all. It's also a day of remembrance. Countless patriots, both in Korea and abroad, sacrificed so much to liberate Korea. Especially Korean patriots in America and the American Friends greatly contributed to the Korean independence movement. And without the United States and her allies in World War II, Korea's liberation would not have been possible. Also, America came to our aid like guardian angels when the Korean War engulfed the peninsula 5 years later in 1950. We Koreans are incredibly grateful to American veterans of both World War II and the Korean War. Their blood, sweat, and tears made possible the Korea of today, a full-fledged democracy with a vibrant economy that ranks among the world's top 10 economies. So once again, I want to thank you for this beautiful ceremony. Indeed, it's a special celebration of Jersey City's cultural diversity and inclusiveness, as well as the Korean community's continued contribution to the city. In particular, I appreciate this opportunity to remember and honor the late Councilman Michael Yoon, one extraordinary Korean American leader who's made a tremendous difference in this city. He was a loving husband and a father and a successful businessman and a dedicated public servant who inspired many young Korean Americans to be more civic-minded. I can't think of a better way to celebrate his lasting and outstanding contributions to Jersey City than to dedicate this ceremony as a memorial to his life of service. So, thank you, Mayor Philip, Mrs. Jennifer Yoon, and everyone else here for this meaningful gathering. Thank you.
Now for the formal presentation of the proclamation. We'll have that with Mayor Philip and Mr. Kim.
Yes, Samo and Consulate.
Want to invite up back up the consulate. This is on behalf of the city to commemorate today and memorialize it officially here in City Hall that on this date in August memorialize the relationship between the Republic of Korea and Jersey City and the importance of the Korean community here in Jersey City. So thank you all, and again, thank you for all your contributions to Jersey City.
And now we'll have the mayor make a presentation of a certificate and a plaque to the reigning First Lady of the Jersey City Heights, Mrs. Michael Yoon, Jennifer Yoon.
I'd like to invite up the council president, Joyce Waterman, who served with Councilman Yoon for many years on the city council, to formally join me for presenting this to Mrs. Yoon, and if she'd like to say a couple words.
Well, today we're here to celebrate. Let me pull this down so y'all can hear me. Today we're here to celebrate a flag raising, which represents the freedom for people fighting. But we're also here to remember a friend, a colleague, who we worked so close with for 7 years, Michael Youn. And Michael was a man of courage. And if you know Michael, Michael was a hellraiser too. When he believed in something, Michael would definitely fight for it. And that's what people need, people who would stand by them and fight for them. And Michael fought for the Heights. He loved the Heights. He loved the seniors up there because there was plenty of times I went to senior events and me and Michael was there, and he just loved them, and they loved Michael too. So today, for us as city council, we didn't have time to have closure because of COVID. But I know some of the council is here, and they really would just like to say a few words. And I have to honor that because they worked with Michael. And you know how it is when you work with someone, you really want to express how you feel about them. So at this time, I will have them come up one by one. I will have Councilman Danny Rivera, then Councilman Rolando Lavaro, then Rich Boziano, who was Michael's dear friend, and then Councilwoman MIRA PRINZ-AREY. Then we'll have our new elected councilperson for the Heights who took Michael's place, Councilman Saleh, and then we'll have no other than, not leaving you for last, but you're in the back seat today, our Councilwoman Denise Ridley. Please come in that order quickly.
Good morning. Just like the council president said, congratulations on the Republic of Korea on their 76th anniversary of national liberation. But like she stated, you know, that we some of us are still missing Michael. Michael was an extreme advocate for everybody in the Heights, and you know, it's unfortunate that we lost an amazing friend, but his spirit still lives on. To Miss Youn, thank you so much for lending him to us, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I'm Councilman at Large, Rolando Lavaro. I'll be very brief, and I know today we celebrate the liberation of the Republic of South Korea, but today for me, I mourn, and Mrs. Youn, I just want you to know my heart goes out to you, my prayers to you and your family, and I'll just say that we miss Michael at every council meeting. God bless you.
Before I talk about Michael, who I was very close to, I want to thank Mrs. Youn for every time I came up to the office there, she was so good to me, offering me coffee, food, everything. Ms. Young, you were the best. Yes. And I speak to her quite often, and I tell you, I miss Michael a lot. I've known Michael for, I guess, 40 years, and I'll tell you, it's sad to even think of what happened. But I know for a fact Michael is on my shoulder watching me, everything I do. And Ms. Young, I have a citation here I want to give you for Michael. I'm not going to read it because everybody knows how great Michael was. He was one of the best, and Ms. Young, I really miss him an awful lot. Ms. Young, Michael would be proud to have Youssef in this place. Youssef has turned out to be very good, and I think he would be very proud if he were here today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So this is a day of celebration, but it is also a little bittersweet. One of the things that I love, and I know Councilman Youn had loved about flag raisings, is that they get to share culture and tradition. And that's what we're doing here today. That's one of the things that Michael was always a fierce advocate for the Korean community, whether it was through music, through art, through dance. So Again, Mrs. Jun, thank you for allowing us to spend that time with him and for allowing me to learn from him, because I would get rambling text messages in the very beginning about all things finance related. And even though I didn't have them saved into my phone at the time, I knew that it was him. So, but again, just like so thankful to have people like the late councilman who advocated so fiercely for the community, but also for his council members to always think better and do better.
Good morning. I'm going to switch up the order a little bit and leave the last word to our Councilman Saleh, the new councilman of the Heights. One of my fondest memories about Michael is when he first met my parents. And he told my mom, "Don't worry about her. I'm going to make sure nobody messes with her." And he did that. Michael always made sure nobody messed with me, and he'd always make sure I was okay. He always asked me about my personal life, and he always told me about his family and his children. And those are the things that people don't see when we're on the council dais, is our personal relationships behind the scene. So Michael was a great man. He will never be forgotten, and he'll always hold a special place in my heart.
As we celebrate the 76th anniversary of the liberation of South Korea, it is incumbent upon us to remember and to celebrate those individuals within the Jersey City community, this beautiful tapestry, this multi-ethnic tapestry within Jersey City that is so rich in diversity, that we have to celebrate prominent South Koreans in the community who have been working in the community, who have spent their whole lives, and that embodies Michael Yoon. And I knew Michael Yoon since I was a little boy. Mrs. Yoon, you remember when I was a kid, I would go to your store. I'd get toys, I'd get the latest video game magazine. And Michael Yoon's impact, even though I didn't know it as a kid, his impact on the community was so great. He was the first to start the Central Avenue SID, which transformed the entire Central Avenue. And we recently did a new special improvement district project which renovated the entire streetscape, and that was all in the mind's eye of Michael Yoon. And I'm just taking the football down to the touchdown line, but that was all Michael Yoon. And I can never fill his shoes, but I'm going to try my best. I love the Heights just as much, and I want to continue to do that work that Michael Yoon had dedicated his entire life to. And his legacy and his impact will live on well into the future. Thank you.
And I'll just close out by saying that it was a privilege to be able to work with Michael for the last 8 years. I remember 4 years ago, I went to a restaurant in Fort Lee, and the staff there was Korean, and they didn't know I was the mayor. And we started to discuss a little bit Jersey City, and all they wanted to know was whether I knew Michael Yoon. And they weren't interested in me. They weren't interested in anything else. They just knew him and the work that he did. And I think that speaks to really the type of person that he was, that his reach really was far beyond Jersey City. Michael was a guy that I've known for 20 years. I worked with him when I was a city council member downtown. He was somebody who reached out to me. And I would seek his counsel because he had relationships with mayors predating me. You have any of the last 4 or 5 mayors, they knew Michael and they knew his commitment to the Heights and Central Avenue. I ran 2 opponents against Michael for 2 elections, and I learned really quickly that you can't beat Michael. You're better off joining him. He was a fierce competitor, and he was strong because he was so smart. He was capable of understanding issues and articulating issues. And the thing about him that always struck me was, if you think about him as an immigrant coming to this country, and clearly he had language barriers where he still spoke with an accent. And I always thought that would be such a difficult obstacle to overcome in elected office. But he was able to overcome it because of his compassion and his passion for Jersey City. And people just saw through that, and they saw how important and how much he cared. Michael was a special guy. He was, I remember he spoke to me about being sick at the first meeting we had with COVID. He was there, he was engaged. And he was talking to us about what we should be doing as a city to make sure that our response is what it should be. And as Youssef said earlier, a lot of the projects that you see in the Heights today, whether it's the reservoir, whether it's Central Avenue, whether it's the streetscape that's happening there, whether it's the park near my house that we just renovated, they are Michael Youn projects, ultimately. They're things that he started. So, you know, when you look back at one's life, even in a situation like this where it's fairly short and he had many more years ahead of him and people who wanted to be a part of that, you look back and you say, did you have an impact on your broader community and relationships? And in Michael's case, it's a resounding yes. He shaped the city in so many ways, and he shaped a family in so many ways with children and grandchildren that love him dearly, that he would speak about nonstop. Michael was a guy who would ask me every year to go to Korea with him. And we would plan it and we would talk about it, and the situation never really worked from a timing standpoint, as you know, because I had little children, it was hard to get away, it didn't work with Michael's calendar, we had an election going up, and you know, Michael would go, he would come back, and he would always bring me a gift. He would bring me a piece of artwork from Korea. Even when the public thought that we weren't on the same page or that we were disagreeing publicly, Michael was always conscious to come back and keep a personal relationship that was more important than anything politically. He was a special guy. It is a privilege to honor him today. It is a privilege to have known him and to work with him. And as I said earlier, his impact on Jersey City will be felt for many, many, many decades to come. So thank you. And Mrs. Youn, on behalf of the entire population of Jersey City, all 300,000 of them, please accept this as a small token of appreciation where we commemorate Michael's contributions to Jersey City and far beyond. Thank you.
To the presenting groups, would you start forming a line up front, because we're going to go through presentations of gifts in a rapid fashion. So please come up and start forming a line here. I mentioned earlier that I spent over 3 years with Councilman Youn as his chief of staff, and that makes me almost Korean. Almost. I remember times when I would feel exhausted, and he would come up to me and say, "You feeling tired?" And I say, "Yeah." And he would say, "Good, that means you're doing good work. People are depending on you, keep going." And that's who he was. As he was in the hospital with COVID, he's reviewing budget numbers. He just kept going and going and going. And I know that that's how his spirit is going to continue as well. It's just going to continue to go and go and go. For the first presentation, I want to bring up a representative of SUNGHO, USA. SUNGHO USA began as a collection of friends who've been working at the Library Arts Gallery for years. But since 2008, emerging artists and mid-career artists have exhibited together and presented the Artist of the Year Award and the New Artist Award to the outstanding artists for the community. Next is Young Gil Kim and Ho Yang of the National Unification Advisory Council in New York. The National Unification Advisory Council advises by request and makes proposals to the President of the Republic of Korea regarding policy development and implementation for a democratic and peaceful inter-Korean unification. Next is Savor Mission Partners. With the steady and passionate helping hand of the United States in Korea, which was once a country of absolute poverty, the children of Korea grew up with a sense of hope and progress. This is what made it possible for Michael Yoon to become a city councilman and laid the foundation for modern Korea that we have come to know. Next is the Korean American Association of New Jersey. The Korean American Association of New Jersey is a nonprofit established to enhance Korean American rights and to do charitable and fraternal activities across the state of New Jersey. Next is the Korean American Association of Greater New York. Founded in 1960, a nonprofit organization, the Korean American Association of Greater New York has long advocated for the welfare and protection of the rights and interests of over 500,000 diasporic Koreans living in the Greater New York area. Next is the Korean New York Artists Association. The Korean New York Artists Association was founded by Korean American artists back in 1993. The first show at the Korean American Cultural Gallery featured the work of 27 artists who had one purpose in mind: to establish a fellowship of organization through which Korean American artists can share and collaborate their visions and create a place for Korean art and American culture. Next is the Korean Traditional Music Association of America, which is a nonprofit organization that holds specialized concerts of exceptional ensembles of performing Korean American artists with the aim to bring festive joy and happiness to the mainstream American music and dance culture. Then there's the New York Classical Youth Orchestra. The New York Classical Youth Orchestra is an active youth orchestra in the New York and New Jersey region. They hold 3 concerts annually and other special events, especially for seniors, veterans, and the community. One of the most rewarding youth programs recognized for its talented young musicians through exceptional training and performance opportunities. And then there's Bel Canto International Society. Bel Canto Opera has been established as a nonprofit charitable organization back in 2009. The organization aims to unify the community with music in order to aid those in our local and global community who live without food, hope, human rights, and with the threat of disease, terror, poverty, and war. Thank you very much. And now, I'd like to introduce to the microphone the First Lady of the Heights, Ms. Michael Yoon, Jennifer Yoon.
이렇게 많은 분들이 오시고 또 저한테 이렇게 또 많은 걸 갖다가 해주셔서 정말 너무너무 감사합니다. 제 할아버지가 제게 남긴 것은 이렇게 주위에 좋은 친구분들, 제가 항상 언제든지 필요하면은 가서 상의할 수 있는 너무나 많은 친구분들을 저에게 선물로 주고 가셨습니다. 여기 계신 모든 분들 정말 너무너무 감사합니다. Thank you. Mayor Flop, City Council President, City President, and Council President Waterman for recognizing my husband today. To his friend, Councilman Richard Boggiano, and to all the members of the Jersey City Council. Thank you so much. Special thanks goes to Council of the Republic of Korea and everyone who came here today as we pay tribute to Korean liberation. For Michael, it was never about politics. Michael's wish was to help people. When the Polish community opposed their relocation of their monument, they called Michael. When supporters of seniors sought the greater protection, they took it to Michael. When homeless sought permanent shelter, when children didn't have toys for holidays, when families didn't have turkey for Thanksgiving, they knew they could count on Michael. Not because he was a councilman, because he cared. Michael truly loved people of Jersey City, and they loved him back. That is why he is remembered today. Michael remains my greatest love. I am so honored to have been able to share him with many of you today. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next, I bring up to the podium Councilman Yusuf Saleh. As Councilman Yoon would say, you have tough shoes to follow. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Vernon. Right now, I am going to present two proclamations. The mayor, if you'd like to give them to Jang Star Taekwondo Inc. and Grandmaster Soon-Kil Jang, if you could please come up. They are a Taekwondo dojo in the Heights, and they've been operating for 31 years. They were going to celebrate their 31st anniversary last year, but because of the pandemic. Oh, hold on. Oh, you can stay. You can stay. I'm going to call up. The next proclamation is for Master Hisu Jang and Jang Star Taekwondo as well. And she's also been at the Jang Star Taekwondo, and she knows over 30 years of martial arts. And basically, they've educated over 30,000 students in the disciplines of, respect for your elders, respect for your community, and getting involved with your community. So they have done a tremendous work in the Heights, and they are prominent South Koreans in the community. Thank you. And hold on one second. And then the last citation is just to Jang Star Taekwondo. If you guys could hold up and get the whole class up to the front. Master Jang, Master Hisu, if you could just, and then have all the students come up and receive the citation. And then you just, yep, thank you so much. And they've been in the Heights for over 30 years on Central Avenue. Oh, you could, right here. Thank you so much.
Due to space considerations, we're going to have one representative from each of the following groups proceed upstairs to the balcony for the flag raising, and you can do so now. That would be a representative of the Republic of Korea, Yasamo, USA, Mrs. Yoon, the National Unification Advisory Council, okay. One moment, everyone.
Councilman, group pictures with the whole.
We're going to do group pictures first.
You won't come back in again.
Okay. So first it will be group pictures, but let me read off the group so that everyone can first assemble here, and then we'll go upstairs for the ribbon cutting. That would be National Unification Advisory Council, Savior Mission Partners, Korean American Association of New Jersey, Radio Korea, iPrime Academy, and Yang Star Taekwondo. Would you assemble for a group picture, please?
All of you, all of you. Yeah. There. Right here. Can we have the group here? All of you.
같이 올라오셔서 같이 찍으셔도 됩니다. 함께 참여하고 싶으신 분들은 다 올라오시면 됩니다. 장관장님 저기 올라오시죠.
의자를 놔두지. 위로 올라왔어. 위로. 영 올라간다. 위로 올라가.
While they assemble on the balcony, I'd like to introduce you to the New York Classical Youth Orchestra with their musical piece entitled Ariang. They are made up of Lucas Park on viola, Seren Park on violin, Lindsay Kim on violin, and Nicholas Chung on cello.
Where should I enter? Where should I sing? Here or where? Where should I enter? Oh,
Oh, the national anthem is going to be from up there. They're going to play. Oh, you're going to sing? Yeah. Oh, well, go up to her and tell her.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And now for our formal flag raising. I point you to the balcony. To sing the national anthem of the Republic of Korea, I introduce Dr. Sung-Bae-ju.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and the bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave a through the night. There our flag was still there. Oh, say the star-spangled banner yet wave. All the land of the free and the home of the brave. 동해물과 백두산이 마르고 닳도록 하나님이 보호하사 우리나라 만세 모공화 섭천리 화려강선 대한 사람 대한으로 길이 보존하세.
And finally, I'd like to reintroduce you to the New York Classical Youth Orchestra. They are going to perform their piece, Nearer, My God, to Thee, Amazing Grace, and Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Thank you.